Hello, how you doing? This is Josh Jeldon, Music Head, and today I wanted to go over a process of workflow and sequencing. Be sure to download the samples. You can see the link below. I created a quick start kit that includes 6 kits and over 60 drum samples. And this can help you follow along. You have to, of course, install it into your flash drive if you're going to use the standalone version of the MPC. All right, so let's get started here. So first thing first, I want you to recognize this, is when you first begin a new project, a lot of times you're going to start off with a template, a built-in drum template. This built-in drum template a lot of times may be like the trap drums, right? Where it starts off with, as you can see, a drum trap. So it starts with this template a lot of times, right? But in this case, we want to have it start off with empty. So the way we'll go about doing that, let's go to project, and we have to go into the preference. So we'll start new project, but you can see how mine starts off with an empty project. So this is how we're going to set that up. So you go into your preferences and you're going to go to project load save. And as you can see here, I have new project behavior as empty project. You can have it as factory project, which I will bring up the template, right? Or your user auto load. All of these settings can be customized to how you fit, what you want. As you can see here, I have, if you have downloaded the Quick Start kit, I have a template that's already set up for a kit that you can use. And the way we'll access these other kits, if you had it set up, is the same way. Start a new project. Click on user template and you can see it loads up the custom kit. So, but today we're going to create these kits. I just want to show you, get you acclimated with these preferences, because this is where you're going to be able to make many adjustments throughout your production design. So first thing first, let's open up a blank session. A new project, which we just showed you how to create an empty project. With every MPC, you have 128 sequences. So these sequences here, they go up to 128, right? Here are the bars. You see it starts off with 2 bars, right? You could change the time signature. So like, a lot of times hip hop is 4/4, but if you want to have 6/8 for like some ballads or R&B, you can do that here. But keep in mind, once you make that signature change, it's going to change all of the signatures within, like every one of the sequences will follow that time signature. So keep that in mind. You're not going to be able to change and switch the time signatures. I believe on the Live 3 you can have various signatures, but I have to research that once I update my system here. So there's also, as we see here, we have the drum panel, and this is how we're going to be doing all our compositions. There's also a loop, and this loop just loops it within those bars, right? If you don't have the loop, it'll go beyond what was in those loops, right? And it just stops. It doesn't continue. So first thing first, now let's create a kit. So a couple things that happen. Like if you were to open up a session where you had drum files and you want to create your own empty session, you'll go into project, drums, and you'll see the drums here, and you could press purge to empty them, but we're not going to go through that all the way. I just wanted to show you some other settings here. So within inside of the hardware settings, you could adjust the pad sensitivity, right? You could have it normal. In this case, I have it really sensitive. When you go extremely sensitive, or extremely, like where it takes a lot of force in order to make the drums. And this could be set to your preference. I have a little more sensitivity because you can have various dynamics to how you want to have your drum sounds. So like I said, we are in the standalone mode, and you can see that I have a interface connected to my device. So I'm not using the internal audio. I'm using a Neve, which I recommend because it gives you 32 channels of ins and out. In this case, I used the MPC to control multiple synthesizers. So now that we have an understanding of the basics of the templates and where things are located, let's go ahead and create our first drum kit. So we'll do it two ways. I'm going to first show you how to name it. So first thing, you want to click and hold, and you can just name the drum kit here, right? But if you have downloaded, I didn't name it anything. I just created a different version of the same templated name. But if you want to, in this case, if you have downloaded the kit that I provided to you, you could go into the places, go down to wherever you have downloaded the file, the MPC starter kit, go into kits, and you can see the empty template that's already named for you. So now that we have an understanding of that template and see how fast, we'll go more in detail to the browser and what that looks like. I did it kind of fast, but you can see in this browser there are different types of settings that represent the file name. So in this case, you can see all the files. This is just for the audio files, plugins, programs, sequencers, and then like the actual project folder. So in this case, we're gonna go ahead and begin loading up a sample. So in this case, we're gonna start off with our unassigned samples. So first thing first, what I did, we're in this empty kit. This, rename it, right? Let's rename this. So we're gonna call this the FBI Special Agent Jack Smith kit, right? Now we got the Jack Smith kit. This begin loading up the samples. So like if you have downloaded the Quick Start kit, I provided you with a folder called Unassigned Samples. As you can see, we have multiple two kicks. We have the snare, snap, the hi-hats, and then we have some percussion sounds. So within this file browser, since we're in here now, I want you to just look. So now if I press plugin, it disappears, right? If we press the audio wave, we can see it. This has a very robust system where you can favorite your folders. You can do searches that goes through all of the folders. So this first thing, let's make a favorite. So say we want to use this unassigned folder. So first thing, you go into your places. It could be either of these files, right? Either of these folder sections. But in this case, I'm using the SD card. And we're going to go down to unassigned samples. And now if you hold shift and click on the folder, right, we'll do 5. Now that folder is a favorite. We just created a favorite of that folder. So now if we're to move a different location, say we lost where we went to drums or whatever, right? We want to go back to that unassigned drums. Just click on 5 and we're right back to where we started because we created a favorite. This is useful for like if you have a sample library where you have multiple samples and you get lost, using that holding shift and then click the favorite can help you identify in place, a different folder for you. So now that we have an understanding of how this is set up, right? Let's go ahead and choose the sample. So you didn't hear it immediately, right? And the reason for that is we could set it up to have it autoplay, sync with the drum, or warp to the speed of the sample. So like you got to be careful with the warp though, because what can happen if you have a faster tempo or a slower tempo, the drum samples will stretch. So a lot of times you want to keep that off unless you're using like some samples or some loops or something like that. So in this case, there's a couple ways we can. One thing that I did miss. Let's go back here. Notice that, you can hear it. Actually, you can't hear it. So what we have to do, since I'm using, this is only a special circumstance, but it's introducing you to more advanced concepts. But in order for you to hear it right now, I have to go into the output, which I just clicked it. Click on I/O. Actually, output the I/O here. And we're going to change this to 3 and 4. Right? And now, when we open up the kits, I am still not hearing my sound. Okay, even we got to get a little more deeper here. So, preference, go down to general, turn this one to 3 and 4 as well. Now, we hear some. It's kind of low, so let's turn it up. It's going into the vault. There's a lot of noise going through it right now. Let's see. I have turn some of these synthesizers down a little bit. Turn this down a little bit. Okay, so now we can hear the samples, right? We are making progress. So now that we can hear the samples from changing the location of the drums, couple ways of loading up the sample. So for one, if I were to click on a pad, you can't really see the pads I'm clicking. Just click the one that you can see. This pad here, once it's lit up, and if you click on load, it loads directly to that pad. I got the gate kind of heavy here, but it loads up the sample. All right, so now that's one way of loading up the sample. If I click on sample aside, you can see the sample on that particular pad. Another way of loading up the samples is if we were to go and click on, let's go back. Let's do this. Let's go to project. You see how that sample is within inside of that track? We could go ahead and purge it. Now, if we go back to that drum channel, you will see nothing inside of the samples. So that kind of shows you how to purge and clear out samples that are not being used, because a lot of times how many samples you're using is being affected by your memory, right? Your memory usage. With the MPC Live 3, you have a lot more memory, so this won't even be an issue when you're working on the Live 3, but the Live 2, there is some limitations with how many samples you can use. So anyway, so let's continue to design this drum. So now instead of choosing one drum, let's go up. I went to the up folder, hold shift, and you can load all of them at the same time. And you, as you can see, the drums and everything's on the side now. So instead of like pressing the keys, you know, each pad to go to each individual marker or each pad, you know, you could just drag and drop the samples to each pad like so. So now that they're dragged and dropped, this is one bank. As you can see, is bank A. With inside of the MP though, you could have multiple banks. So like if I were to press this bank twice, it goes to E. And like I said, you have access to over 128 pads. So each of these banks, you can have various sets of drums. In this case, we're going to keep it simple. So as you can see, we have a drum kit. We're already creating a drum sample. So what we just learned right now, we learned about the preferences, how to get into set it up where we could set the sensitivity, how to create our very first drum kit, right? So now the drum kit that we just created is viewed, right? So at this time, you might as well save the project. So you go in here and you go to save project as, find your location. In this case, if you want to, we'll just create a location and we'll call it the first drum. Let's do it. And this first drum, messed up the first. See, yeah, let's fly. So when you're naming your program, I mean your project, you could also set it as a template. And like if you were to save it as a template at this point, what will happen is that it will open up with this first drum kit. So but anyways, we'll go ahead and save it. So now we have the first drum kit you see here. Now let's do a second thing. So say we like the drum we created. Let's go ahead and save that drum program. Again, you go to the menu, save, and then you go to drum program. I didn't do a favorite, so I got to go into the folder. We can hold shift and just press 1 on that folder. That's how you save it. You know, that's how you make a favorite, correct? As a review, and just go ahead and save it. So now we not only have a drum kit that we created, but we also have a kit. Press 1. Program. You see the program, right? We created a drum kit that we could reuse, or we could save it or share it with others. It's something that I actually did. So you could go ahead and download the Quick Start kit, and you'll see all the other kit sounds that I developed. And also that includes like a MIDI sample, so you can play a MIDI loop. So since we have loaded up and got into the favorites, I mentioned about the warp. We went into setting up pools. Now I want to show you how to bring in the MIDI, right? So we got the kit. We could program, right? The way you go ahead about programming it, actually playing it, right? Set the tempo, arm the track, press record, play start. You see, I can't hear the tempo. So the reason that if you should know by now, the reason you can't hear the tempo is that we have to have it go out through 3 and 4. And you see that? I clicked up here on the metronome. Right now it's record and play, but we could change how the rates are, and we could change the output, and we're going to turn it on. Now we can hear the metronome. So let's go ahead, put a good drum. All right, just like that, we have a drum loop. All right, we're not going to go too deep into the grid mode and all the settings there. I just wanted to show you how to first record. Now, since we have a recording, of course, you can edit it to your heart's content. Okay, just make sure. Let me just shift, delete everything. A few ways you could do delete. But now I want to go ahead and show you one thing with this menu, and then we'll go deeper into loading up MIDI files that is provided to you in the Quick Start guide. The Quick Start kit. So as you can see here, there is a pad. There's a pattern to these, how this is laid out. And that since there is a pattern to it, what you can do, you can hold menu and then click on a pad that represents where this is laid out. So for instance, if we want to get the pad 12, we're going to go to pad mute. If we press menu, pad 12. You see, if you hold menu and click the pads, you could quickly switch between the menus. You can also edit the menu. So like if you wanted to move the track somewhere else, it will still have the same effect. You could customize it to your heart's content. You mess it up, go ahead and click the 3 dots and reset, and you're back to where you were. All right, so we covered quite a bit. I think it went over the time a little bit. We're coming up to the 25-minute point. I just wanted to make sure you have an understanding of the basics. Now, so before we go to the full 25 minutes, we may have a second or two where I can show you how to import the MIDI, which is similar to what you have seen before. We'll go into our MIDI start kit, go to the MIDI file, and you will see the various drums, MIDIs. In this case, I created a MIDI for the unassigned drums. And you will see as current sequence is used, load it to the next unused sequence. Wait, hold on, let me do that again. We put it on another sequence. I see what it's saying. And here's the sequence. Second sequence. So on the other tracks, I'll show you how to adjust the levels. Like, see how this is it's kind of low, but it sounds loud. But there's certain samples, and you could do some mixing and editing. All right, so hopefully this is helpful. Have a great day.